Okay, welcome students, partners. This is the last little video I want to do very quickly on fasting because we had a couple of questions that I wanted to answer. And so I think it was John that asked me this question. And he asked, according to this diagram, what about these medications on there? Should you take the medications just to create autophagy? Well, John, I never really thought about that before. And so as I look at this, we talked about this pathway right here, that calorie restriction, that you block this thing called mTOR, and it increases autophagy. And so John perceptively asked me, should you be taking rapamycin? And so the answer is no. No, we can't do that, because that is a drug that actually helps people not reject organs when they have transplants and things. And it does a lot of stuff. Interesting that this enzyme is actually named after a rapamycin. It's the mammalian target of rapamycin. It's what rapamycin targets. But, you know, John got me thinking, and this is metformin here. Well, metformin is used for diabetes. And so remember, metformin, you can fast and you can have the ratio of ATP, which is the energy molecule, go down, and AMP, which is the part that's been used up. When you have lower energy, then that kicks in this AMP kinase that makes you have autophagy. And so John asked, well, can you take metformin? Well, not a good idea, because metformin is actually something that's used to lower blood sugar. But when you take it, it does tend to do this, to start autophagy. But then he got me thinking about this part of the diagram, spermidine. Spermidine looks like it also produces autophagy. And so I went back to the literature and I started looking through it and finding, wow, that's been on the chart the whole time, but you know, I just kept brushing by it. I never paid attention to it, but John did. And so the question came up, can you take spermidine? So I started looking through the literature, only to find out that it is a normal compound in our bodies. Originally, they found it in sperm, but it's all over your body. It does all kinds of things throughout your body as far as autophagy in all these cells. So can you take spermidine? People call it a hack, you know, to be able to do something without having to really do it, to get it to function. And then sure enough, you can. It's a supplement. You get it on Amazon, and it does produce autophagy. Now, I was going to put the next slide here. I'm going to apologize for flipping through this because I didn't put it right after it. But then I was looking at this diagram, which is one I've used before too. It's the same kind of a thing. It's talking about metformin, increases AMP kinase. It also blocks mTOR, and then it produces autophagy. But then I looked at this one over here. I'd forgotten about this. It's kind of another hack. Here is the spermidine that creates autophagy. But down here is resveratrol. Resveratrol is the compound in purple grapes. It's in purple grape juice. It's in deep red wine. And it's the red coloring on the peanuts. When you have Spanish peanuts with the red cover, it's in there. So you can, and I've known this for a long time, you can take supplements of resveratrol, and through this, remember these sirtuins, the major really controllers of metabolism in the body, you can produce autophagy. So John, you were right. You know, you can. You don't want to take rapamycin. You really don't want to take metformin. But can you take spermidine to increase autophagy? Yes. And since we're talking about it, I thought I'd bring it up too, that we've known this for a long time. People could talk about anti-aging herbal supplements. And so what is an anti-aging herbal supplement? Well, it's resveratrol. You can get it in foods, but you don't get a whole lot of it in foods. You can get it in really, really deep purple grape juice. If you eat grapes, you just can't get enough of it, because, you know, you take a grape, you chew, and you swallow it. Well, all that coloring is in the skin. And so you have to break the skin to get to the resveratrol. And so generally, you don't get it. I mean, if you ate a grape or a couple of grapes and you chew, just keep it in your mouth and chew 50 times. There's not much left there, just a tiny little bit of skin. But the more you chew, the more bitter it becomes, and you do actually get some of that resveratrol out. You get much more of it when you shred the thing and turn it into grape juice, or you sit it in a tank and you ferment it into red wine. A lot more of it comes out of the skin that way. So, John, thanks for that question, because it got me thinking. And as I studied it, sure enough, you can. Spermidine does seem to be something that generally just creates autophagy in the body. All right. Again, apologize for running through this all, because you've seen all this before. The other question people keep asking me is, what's the best way to fast? So we went through this diagram, and I don't have time to go through all of the different aspects of calorie restriction compared to fasting, but fasting seems to be better than just reducing calories, though reducing calories has a benefit too. And this is just talking about basic calorie restriction. We went through this. So intermittent fasting, when people say that, it can be alternate day fasting or this time restricted fasting that we talked about. So it can be either one. So people have asked me, should I do intermittent fasting and how much? Well, it depends on which one you're talking about. The alternate day fasting is it's okay for some people, but it's brutal in the fact you eat one day and don't eat the next. I've tried that for very short periods of time and I can't do it. Do I recommend that one? Not really. This one we've talked about a lot, which is time restricted fasting. And it can be just reducing your consumption to 8 hours. That's really the best. So when people say, what's the best? The one I would start with is that, doing the time restricted fasting. You can live your life doing that, cutting it back. I generally eat in 6 hours, every once in a while 4, but almost always I eat in 8. And I start eating sometime about 11 or 12. And then if I eat later in the day, I can eat at 6 or 7 and still be within that 8-hour period. So it's amazing what you can do with time restricted fasting. So if someone says, which one do you recommend? That's the one I recommend to start with. But then you can do long-term water-only fasting. Is that good? That's amazingly beneficial, but it's also difficult. It's harder on people to just not eat. Do you get benefits from it? Yes. But again, I'm not recommending that, because you really need to talk to someone, be under the care of someone if you're going to go for a long period of time. All right. And the main thing I want to talk about today is I thought I needed to put this whole thing in perspective. And so we've been talking about Isaiah 58:8, and we're just talking about the health benefits of fasting. But I thought I really have to end this before I start next week getting into how to lose weight without dieting. And so we filmed that a little bit. We talked a little bit about that today when we were doing some interviews here with Kevin. So this is the break room for the meeting here in Phoenix. And so everybody left because they're all getting ready for the meeting. And so they left me in a quiet room. So I thought I would talk to you for 5-10 minutes. So I want to make one point here about fasting. We've been talking about physical benefits, but I want to read most of Isaiah 58, or 5 or 6 verses. And he starts out talking about what a fast is not. We have fasted before you, Lord. And you say, why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves. Look at us. Look at me. Look what we've done. But you don't notice, God. Look at me. Look what we've done. I tell you why I respond. It's because you are fasting to please yourself. So why did he not respond? They were fasting to please themselves. So you get these benefits from physically not putting food. Fasting means to cover your mouth. And so when you don't take in food, you get benefits. But you can have better benefits or worser benefits depending on what you're doing with your mind and with your soul when you're doing this. So in this case, in Isaiah 53, the soul has said, body, you're not going to eat. And God says, that's not a fast that he's pleased with. It's the fast that, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm putting my body down. The body's going, I want to eat. And you go, no, you don't eat. So there's right ways and there's wrong ways to fast. Isaiah 58 gives you the wrong way. It's because you have fasted to please yourselves, even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. Oh my goodness. We're fasting, yet we're putting down other people in the midst of it. Look at me, I'm fasting. Why aren't you fasting? Poor you. Or you're just being rude, mean to people. That's not the fast that God wants. You fasted from this, but you haven't fasted from letting the old nature take over. And you need to fast from the old nature too. Your soul needs to fast from looking to itself. Look at me. All right, let's go to 4, Isaiah 58:4. What good is fasting when you keep on fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me. See, so as again, you don't fast to get something from God. That's not the point of fasting, is to get something from him. But in this fast in 4 and 5, the soul is trying to get something from God and prove to God how good we are. That is the wrong kind of fast for your soul. All right. Number 5, you humble yourselves by going through the motions of penance. Ouch. Bowing your heads like reeds, bending in the wind, dressed up with burlap. So you not just don't feed the body, you're being brutal to the body. I want to make you wear burlap and show everybody how we're fasting here. You dress in burlap, you cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord? So it goes through all of these things on what it isn't. So important when we fast. We're not proving anything to God. We're not pointing to ourselves. We're not saying, look at us, how good we are. We're not with our own will pushing down the body. That is not the fast that God desires, and it doesn't bring benefits. Isaiah 58:6. No, this is the kind of fast that I want, to free those who are wrongly imprisoned, to lighten the burden of those who work for you, to let the oppressed go free, and to remove the chains that bind people. That's an outward fast. Instead of looking at you, it's looking at you releasing the bonds of other people. That's the fast. Fast from not just fasting your body by not eating, fast your soul by not looking at itself and saying, what about me? What about me? You fast your soul by focusing on other people. That is the kind of fast that God is looking for. You share, 57, you share your food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless. You give clothes to those who are in need, and you do not hide yourselves from relatives. I would like to help you children, wife, parents, but I'm fasting. You know, look at me. I'm fasting and I'm spiritual and I can't take time for all of you. That is not the fast that he's wanting. And so Isaiah 57, share your food with the hungry. You don't hide yourselves from relatives. You help people. You help people. You help your relatives. You help everyone. Your soul is not Isaiah 58:3. Look at me. Look at me. Your soul is, how can I help them? How can I help them? That is the fast that God wants. When we do that, what do we get? Then we get Isaiah 58:8. When your salvation will come like the dawn and your wounds will heal quickly. Yeah, the food does it. It's stopping it. I've shown you many natural things that happen. But the soul, if the soul is looking at itself in this fast, you're thwarting the whole reason for the fast. But if you fast your soul and you look to other people, that's the fast that God wants. And then it says your salvation will come, your healing will come quickly, your godliness will lead you forward. The glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. That's wonderful. That's the fast. It's fasting body and it's fasting soul at the same time. You get these benefits. Isaiah 58:9, then you'll call on me and I'll answer. I'll say, here I am. He will quickly reply, remove the heavy yoke of oppression, stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. That's what you get. You're not supposed to be shaking your finger at other people. Look at. You're supposed to call unto the Lord, humble yourself, look to others, and then you get the benefits of Isaiah 58. I thought I needed to do a quick review of that because I think the fasting is important. My doctorate is in nutrition, and I think nutrition is very important, and I've shown you what it does. But boy, what we think is more important than what we eat. What we think about what we eat. Now, you can take this wrong. People are always making jokes here already at the meeting. When I said, don't eat an organic cookie, just eat an Oreo. So people are eating Oreos going, oh, he told me I can eat an Oreo. But it wasn't my goal. I didn't mean you should be allowed to eat cookies. But if you go on a diet and I'm not eating salt, and then all you do is feel bad and you suffer and you're not that's not good that your soul is trying to do this thing with the diet, and you're putting yourself down and feeling horribly. Eat good food, love good food, and when you're fasting, fast with the intent of helping others, not impressing God. Wanted to put that in perspective. Thanks. We'll post this today and be in the meetings here for the next 2 days. If you're here in Phoenix, please look me up. And then on Monday, we start looking at how do you lose weight without dieting? And we'll have that up hopefully on Monday. I'll fly Monday, so maybe it won't be, it might be Tuesday.